right, we are live.
Let me just pull my stuff up. Welcome to another episode of the Rap Thought Podcast. You have Matt, he's cool. You got Brandon, he's cooler. And we're here to do our thing.
And together, we are cool and cooler.
Wow. Nice. I like it. Cooler than the other side of the pillow, cooler than a polar bear's toenails, as Outkast would say.
All of that.
All of it. This week, we're going to be in the Bay Area. We already are in the Bay Area, but music-wise,
We're taking it to our hometown.
we're taking it to the hometown.
And I love that he shouts out our hometown.
Love it. We're doing Mac Dre this week, and we're doing Thizzelle, Washington. I was kind of thinking you'd be a little skeptical.
No, I've always known about Mac Dre, and of course, I've always heard him at parties and things like that. Even in LA, I grew up in LA. We still banged Mac Dre down there, but I never took the opportunity to listen to any of his albums in full. Mm-hmm. He just wasn't that kind of artist to me, where I was like, okay, I need to check out his whole album. It's more of, I hear one of his songs at a party, I'm like, oh, this is dope. This fits the vibe. You know, this works.
Well said. I mean, I think we can skip that. You know, we generally ask, hey, when's the first time you heard Mac Dre? But you can't grow up in California, let alone the Bay Area, and say you've never heard of Mac Dre. It just,
Right.
it doesn't work. You can't not do that.
Yeah. I can't even remember the first time, but it was probably at a high school party, like a kickback or something like that. And you know, whoever the person was with the aux or the burned CD that was playing it.
Yeah, burned CD.
It was probably a burned CD back then.
Burned CD.
And they're usually the ones that were getting super hype about it, and then everyone would catch on to the energy, and yeah, it was always a good time when Mac Dre was playing.
That's what's up. I mean, like I said, we've all heard of him, but I'm also, for the same reason that you mentioned, I'm also looking forward to this because he's an artist that you hear, that you grow up with, and everybody knows and references. But I've never listened to a full-on album. I almost question if the people that I was around listened to it as well too.
Right.
I mean, I almost think of him as, I was going to ask, like, how would Mac Dre fit in with this playlist era of just dropping stuff? And when I look at his catalog, or when I think of the tracks that we grew up listening to, I almost want to say he would fit in well, if not that whole hyphy
He almost
movement
birthed
starting
it. Or
exactly.
He created that lane before it was a thing. It was he birthed let me burn a CD with all the dopest Mac Dre songs from his, 20-year career.
And that was my point right there. Is like, I remember in high school asking, Matt Emery asking just friends and everything of, hey, can you burn me a couple tracks, just whatever hypey stuff you got. And Mac Dre was probably always on one of those, but it definitely was like the 2000s, 2005 through whatever. That was a playlist era for sure with this movement. And it was cool because it's like very special to the Bay Area. Like, we have our artists.
I think that's one of the things I really like about Mac Dre, and what I really appreciate about him is that he represents the Bay Area so well. The Bay Area is in his soul, his essence. That's what and you get the feeling from it. As soon as you turn it on, this is coming from the West Coast. This is coming from the Bay Area.
The sound there is very distinct. I mean, I was listening to a couple different albums, and I really like that. I mean, if you were to make a Mount Rushmore of Bay Area songs, I almost feel like, for me, like, I got 5 on it as number 1. And then, but there's just like a sound that comes with it. And I feel like a lot of his music has that type of sound. Yeah. And you don't hear it a whole lot anywhere else. And
so what was your hyphy phase like? Were you getting dumb, getting stupid?
Dude, I didn't come
riding?
I didn't come to. I have ghost ride before with my buddy Bob. We definitely have done that. But I didn't go to school in the backpacks. I remember seeing that a lot, and Yeah, dude. When you go to the school dances, you're fucking getting dumb as shit.
Yeah.
And
Oh
good times.
man. You know what's funny is even though I grew up in LA, we still were influenced by the hyphy movement. You know, we still felt it down there. And I remember with my friends, one of my friends, Stuart, he had a minivan, like the Toyota Privia,
Fuck.
and we would take that to the park, like near where we lived, and we would ghost ride the whip there, and bump Mr. Fab and Mac Dre and all that. And listening to this brings me back to that time when after school, we would just go over to the park and just chill and ghost ride the whip and do stupid shit.
Just go ghost ride.
Yeah, like not even at parties or anything, just like after school. Like that's.
Well, that's the thing is that he's a pioneer of this entire movement, and we rode that wave for 2-3 years hard in high school. And so one of the things I really respect about Mac Dre about his music is that it really unifies a lot of people around here. I mean, the school I went to, a stereotype about it is that there's a lot of rednecks at our school. Whatever. But most of them, they know Mac Dre. They're dancing to his stuff and whatever else. Like it's bridging people because it was just a fun movement. You have people that are just kind of goofing off and like they're coming to school in their tall tees and and like the superhero backpacks and stuff like that, the little kid ones. And I like that. I like how it's cool when music bridges people together. Oh hell yeah! So it was cool.
Hell yeah.
I don't know, before we even hop into this album, there's so many things to talk about that I feel are important. I read this article. Let me pull this up real quick. I was reading this article, I guess it was through the bold italic, and it was by Alan Cesaro. And he was talking about the influence of masculinity via Bay Area hip hop. And it felt like that'd be a really good thing to talk about. So he basically states in his article that it had, like, with people like Mac Dre, who are these like these gangster rappers. I mean, Mac Dre's involved with allegedly.
Right, it was
allegedly involved in bank robberies and pizza parlors and what else.
Right.
Like, it creates this image, and they're these gangsters, they're whatever else, but they really reshaped the label of what that is. Like, it's not always just this person that's just like a thug or whatever else, just being intimidating and stuff like that. Like, he was a goofy dude. That, again, like going to the movement, you think about everything that everyone was doing, what they were wearing, and it's like he inspired that. And he inspired this confidence to be weird, and he shed the persona of being tough, of the tough personas and expressions. So, if you have these people that are just dancing and being totally ridiculous, but then they're hard at the same time, it was just kind of cool. And I really think about how that has impacted me or whatever. Like right now, if you see it on YouTube, I'm wearing a SpongeBob and Patrick shirt, and there's no shade. I don't care. Like, I like the colors. It's very vibrant and stuff like that. But, I'm not going to say like Mac Dre 100% influence the things I do or say, but like he definitely created this movement where people can just be dumb and be goofy. And
so yeah, it's a movement where they can dress different and act different and listen to different types of music without being judged. So yeah, it's definitely dope. And yeah, I think it all does kind of stem from Mac Dre, the whole hyphy movement, and kind of ballooned from there, if I have that correctly. Because he started in, the late 80s, technically?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the earlier albums I saw was 92.
Okay,
93.
So early 90s.
But he probably started in the late 80s, so check that.
So he'd been around for a minute, and then he went to jail in 96.
He went to jail in 96 and he was sentenced to 5 years, but they let him out after 4.
Gotcha.
And a little background on him. He was born Andre Lewis Hicks in 1970 on July 5th, so the day after Independence Day. He passed away November 1st, 2004 in Kansas City. So it's kind of sounded like some people just pulled up on them after a show and let him have it. And he was pronounced dead at the scene. So it's still one of those unsolved murders to today.
Yeah, that's crazy how there's so many of those in hip hop when you think about it.
Kind of weird, especially with high profile artists.
And one of them just got solved. Was it from Run DMC Jam Master Jay?
Oh yeah, that's right. A couple weeks ago, Jam Master Jay,
they finally found who his killers were.
There was a radio show, and I forget the name of the host, but he had said, because this is all part of like the anti-snitching thing, where he was saying like, I'm not going to name any names, but the person that did kill Mac Dre was taken care of. So apparently he's in the streets, it was handled, and he's gone. But just one of those things. But what's interesting is like when he got busted, so he had done a show. It was saying he did a show with Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, and a couple other people, and he had met some girls down there. So he went down to Fresno to meet up with these girls. Friends were taking a road trip, and he woke up in the morning. Friends were gone, and when they all reconnected, they were on their way back. They got stopped by the feds, and they had said, they basically grilled all of them. Mac Dre said, I don't know where they were. I don't know anything. I'm not part of that. So he got busted for conspiracy and sentenced to 5 years. So he was saying, had I said anything, they offered me a deal and said if I said something, I wouldn't even go to jail. But he stayed true. And whether if he knew something or not, he didn't and ended up serving some time. So it's interesting as in his music, it was saying that the police were beginning to look. There were a string of robberies that were happening in Vallejo. So they were starting to look at all those artists' music and everything and starting to take a look at that.
The hip hop police.
Yeah, which is, pretty shitty. I would like to think that people don't snitch themselves out like that. Like it's different in this day and age.
I wouldn't put that on the cops. That's the artist's fault if they're putting their illegal activities in their songs, and the police can now use that as evidence.
No, what I was saying is like I would think that people would be smarter than that to be like, hey, I've robbed the McDonald's on 37th.
That's happening to a higher degree today with social media. And you got so many people posting when they do illegal activities, and it's like you do know the police are following you, and they know that you're doing all this stuff, and they're keeping tabs on it.
That's why I understand how people are so deep into Twitter and everything, where it's like we're talking race for a second, where you have people going down for things that they're saying or things that they said years ago. Why would you say it currently? Don't post. I don't know. Keep that true to yourself. But so it's interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I wanted to. Mac Dre's music is kind of, I want to say surface level, is definitely for entertainment. And so there's, at least for my experience listening to this album, there wasn't too much content. So I wanted to go back and take a look at some other albums, which I won't go in depth on. But, it's just there's an interesting change in his style between albums, between in and out of jail. I had listened to Young Black Brother and Stupid Doo Doo Dumb, and I think I listened to one other one. And I have to say, like, I don't want to say I had low expectations, but especially being like local or I don't know, just like kind of, it was really good. And I really liked the production in his earlier work.
Right.
I don't know if you got a chance to.
Yeah, I checked out Young Black Brother. And it was cool. I enjoyed it. I did enjoy the production. I thought it was a dope album. And you could definitely tell he changed up his style after prison and kind of created his own lane. Because before, he was definitely just making music in the style of the times. Of what everyone else was doing, he was doing as well. But then he kind of carved his own lane with the whole hyphy movement and the Thiz movement and, going dumb and all that stuff. So, yeah, it's an interesting transformation.
Yeah, his raps were a lot faster back then. I feel like they were a little jazzier, so I really liked that. Young Black Brother, I was like, man, these tracks hit. I really like them. And then Stupid Doo Doo Dumb, like I feel like he wasn't rapping as fast, but he was packing more words into in his bars. And then when you get to Thizzelle Washington, it's slower, and his voice is deeper, his flow is slower, but I don't know, like before I would make like a solid stance. Right now, I'm preferring older Mac Dre before 2000, before the hyphy movement.
But who knows if he never went to prison, if he would have gotten as big as he did, because he really got big after prison when he started putting out albums, under this new image and this new character of the Thiz movement, and he created his own record label and things like that. So he really took control of his music and a direction, rather than him. Maybe if he never went to prison, he would have just chased being on labels and would have just fell beneath the cracks and would have never really blown up from that.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but it was looking like he had started up his own label before he went to prison in Sacramento. But I definitely think the style changed up after he went, because if I read right, he wanted to start making music that people could dance to upon being released from prison.
Yeah,
so you're right.
I think he had a different look on life after prison, where he just wanted to have fun and
it kind of checked his freedom a little bit, where he's like, all right, like I had this taken away for 4 years. Like I definitely want to express that in my music and everything. So, so I like that. I thought that was pretty cool. But I would say, I'm not going to say that I'm a, big Mac Dre fan now, but I'm definitely I like this episode because it got me to really listen to him, as you were saying. And I definitely see myself looking into older music and see what's going on. But on that note, what do we have with Thizzelle Washington, man?
Yeah, let's jump in with the intro. And he's being introduced by Yuckmouth.
It's another Bay Area icon.
Yeah. So it's almost like a hype man type of thing, where he's introducing Mac Dre before he comes on stage, just hyping him up, letting everyone know where he's from, what area they're repping, and that he's not to be fucked with.
He's a pimp too.
Yeah, he's a pimp. I love the shouts out. Oh, that's for the next song, but
we can hit that.
Yeah, but yeah, it's got a cool beat on the intro, and it's just Yuckmouth talking his shit from Mac Dre.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, it's just like you said, just them talking their stuff and it's putting it down for Vallejo. And if you don't get that throughout the whole album, then you're lost. Right. You're not paying attention. He's from the Valley Joe. He puts it down. That's where he's from. So, and then we have Monday through Sunday.
Yeah, this is a dope song. I really liked it. I love the energy. It's fun. It's got his unique style to it. Which is great, because I can appreciate if you don't have to be the best rapper technically, and you don't have to have the best bars, but if you have a unique style and you have your own energy that you bring to the song, then I can fuck with it. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be super lyrical, miracle, technical.
It doesn't have to, and I think I like your point. It's like it has to hit in a certain way. Like, I think you and I both like our music to have more content. To like get someone's experience from it and this and that, to be to find something enriching, I would say.
Right. Yeah. And that's one of the great things about this podcast is we can go from, a Felt to a Jean Grey to a Little Brother to a Mac Dre. You know what I mean? We're covering all the bases to a Logic.
Yeah, definitely covering some bases. But I think of, like, because of the episodes that we have done, like in terms of our own personal interest in what we like in music, like a lot of the albums that we've done are ones that we really like, if not favorites. Some we don't like, some of them that we just discovered. But I mean, at least for myself, and maybe you'll include yourself, like I don't want to paint a picture that like, hey, I only like stuff with content. But back to what I said before, if I'm going to like something that doesn't have really anything to do with anything, it has to hit in a certain way. I feel like Mac Dre covers those bases.
Yeah,
really
let's
well.
compare it to DaBaby. You know, we covered him earlier, and he kind of has the same, almost similar content to this, but I feel like Mac Dre does it in such a unique way, and he's not copying anyone's style that I can vibe with it more and I can appreciate it more. Whereas DaBaby doesn't really hit for me.
No, he doesn't really. Yeah, he doesn't do anything for me. But I mean, I don't know. I was trying to think like who Mac Dre is so unique. But if I were to think of anyone that closely resembles him, which doesn't, the first person I thought of was Eazy-E. But if Eazy-E maybe could
Yeah.
write his own lyrics and be comfortable saying them.
Right. Well,
And
what about Andre Nicotina? I feel like he's pretty similar.
yeah,
Maybe not with the whole hyphy thing, but just having a unique style and just
they definitely have unique styles, but for me, it's not what I could say a plethora of artists that are unique or similar because they're all unique in their own way. But
Right.
I don't know. I just never. Andre should actually go on the list too because he's the one I had Hell's Kitchen and stuff
Right.
like that, but I didn't really listen to it as I could
right.
as
Yeah,
an
no,
adult.
that's a good one.
But yeah, man, like you were saying though, when you first get past the intro on this song and you get to this one, it's Sebastopol. And you're like,
Yeah, I
what
know.
the
I know. That tripped me out, and he's like Santa Rosa, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
He knows about this place?
Yeah, I mean but there's artists. I mean, you have Tupac that's mentioned Santa Rosa, Sonoma County, or whatever else, and a couple of artists have done that. But to be a gangster rapper and shout out Sebastopol,
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
what business did you have up here? What were you
Definitely
doing?
weed. It's weed.
That's-
100%. He had weed connects, and he came up to Sebastopol to get that good shit.
That's a good point.
100%.
That's a
But
good
also, I could totally see him performing at what's the
Hot Monk.
Hot Monk.
I don't even know if it was there then. That's
No,
what-
it probably wasn't. But if he was still alive, I can see him performing there, and it would be packed out.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. I mean, I
Well,
almost-
I'm sure he performed in Petaluma at
the Mystic.
at the Mystic.
Man, I was thinking like I'm sure with him, he'd probably even perform at Black's at Lucky Star or at Jasper's. I could see him totally performing there. But yeah, man, it's just like throwing us out there with his goofiness, like say ye instead of hello, play a bitch like a cello.
Yeah.
I just this song it's not really about much, just 7 days of pimping.
Yeah.
Chilling with the homies, speeding.
Right.
I like his reference, with the cops on him saying like California exempt on my tail. I go to jail, I post bail.
Yeah, he's having fun. Like, yeah, he is, talking about hookers and dealing with gangsters and shit like that. But he does it in a way where you don't know. He could be serious. He could not be serious. He could be painting a picture. He could be writing a movie scene or whatever. But yeah, it doesn't hit you in a way where it's off-putting. It's not off-putting at all to listen to this.
No, not really. I mean, that's the thing too, is that like when you listen to it throughout, like I guess it can be misogynistic, but I mean, even when you think of the people that were vibing with his tracks back in the day, like women were vibing with him pretty hard too.
Oh, yeah.
One of my friends, shout out Jessica Costa. I remember you crying in theater class when Mac Dre passed away. I remember I sat down, she was all like super upset. And I was like, what's up? Like, what's going on? She's like, Mac Dre passed away today and I just can't do
Damn.
it. And I was like, oh man. I was like, okay. So I was like, that sucks. But I mean, not to say that one girl makes it okay for everything he said, but just saying that everyone was kind of messing with them.
Yeah.
But what I like to hear is like a lot of the Bay Area has its own lingo, its own definitions. We talked about ghostwriting. He Thizzelle Washington, thizzing and stuff
Right.
like that. And I like how a lot of these themes are in his older albums as well too. Like they've been around for a while. To me, I just thought, oh, this popped up in 2000. But it's
Yeah,
been
he'd
around
be
for-
on it. He'd been on it for a long time. It's very similar to E40. Has his own lingo.
He may even have a dictionary that he made. I can't remember if that's right.
Probably. And then the next song, we go into Stuart Little's.
That sounds offensive. Like,
yeah,
man, I got these Stuart Littles all up on me. Like,
Yeah, I love this beat too. I love the vibe on this, and and he's basically giving out cautionary tales of where he lives and how he lives. He says, fuck with me, get sent to hospitals. I don't be playing, I get to spraying. Before you pull a lick, put some Mac Dre in. And yeah, it's just funny lyrics. You know, it's tough lyrics, but they're funny at the same time. You know, they make you laugh, but then you know not to fuck with him in real life. You know what I mean? He gives you that vibe. It's like, you can laugh, but don't cross me.
And I feel like that's his music, where I'm like, he doesn't look intimidating, but then some of the stuff he says, and then he does have a rap, like he's been convicted of a couple things. You're just like, all right, I don't feel like a lot of the stuff he's saying is made up. I don't feel like it's fabricated, but yeah, I don't know. He's a funny dude. Doesn't miss. I like how he says, I don't mess with 5-0 or give them clues. It's like, who gives the police clues? But it's that's what made me laugh. So I don't know. I like how he describes, and maybe I think it's also segueing into the next song too, but just describing people in his hood as ugly monsters with no guilty conscience, and references, his run-in with the authorities. And in another track, I hope it's not the next one, it might be, but it's just alluding to people being a product of their environment.
Right.
And in one of his tracks from an old, I think we'll get into that at some point. But
Bro, you didn't make paragraphs.
Paragraphs?
Yeah, I can see your shit. You write like one long paragraph on
No, it's not. It's numbered.
I don't know how you read that.
Yeah, it's fine. So, haven't had a problem before. But yeah, I just like the Stuart Littles being square-ass people, and I might adopt that lingo.
Right. No, I like that. That's dope. The next one is Help Me, where he gets a little bit more, self-reflective and a little more introspective. And I like that. I like how he put a song like that into this kind of album, where it's a little break from, the pimping and the hoeing and the gangster and all that shit, which is fun. But it's cool to have this where you get a different side to him. And just saying, like, we all need help to survive, and especially in the environment that he lives in.
Right. And so it was this track that was the next one where he's, as you were talking about, like the song after that's called, or a couple songs later, is called Cutthroat, but just kind of living that lifestyle. And it's kind of a means of survival in a sense.
Yeah.
So, and it's kind of sad because he's talking about how, I know that we have to do what we have to do to survive, and homies are going to get transferred, in doing that, but they knew what they signed up for when they enlisted, in regards to they knew as we were getting in trouble what was going to happen. Yeah. And commenting that people are dying, as you said, like asking for help when you need it. And I really like the where he talks about crying on the inside, where, because of their life, he's crying on the inside, but if you look at him, you're just going to see a cold stare. So they're more sensitive than you think.
And that's typical, machismo and not being, men not being able to show their emotions because it looks like weakness. So he knows if he shows his emotions, his peers are going to look at him as weak and emotional. So he's like, I am feeling that, but I don't show it. I'm crying on the inside. And I really like Frico's lines. He was a feature on here. He says, we daydreaming of flying, we high, eternal freedom, but we paid the price for living this life. We cry inside, but only stares for the naked eye. And those are just deep lines. They understand the life that they live. They're not unaware of the risks that they're taking.
It reminds me of movies like Freedom Riders and Coach Carter, where the focus is on these kids in inner cities that aren't doing too hot. And because of the lifestyle they live, and this kind of ties into Frico's and Ryder J. Clyde's lyrics, where it's like, this is what we know. And we don't see any other way of getting rich. Because from those movies, they talk about how these kids, they don't see themselves living past a certain age.
Right.
So like if time is limited, I need to do what I can to survive and to make sure my family does well. So school's not a priority, getting a job isn't necessarily a priority. That's too slow. I'm gonna rob this bank.
Yeah.
And so it was just like you said, it was just kind of cool to see some introspection on another level, even if it's not my lifestyle at all, but
Right.
it was cool to see.
And then we move on to the Mac named Dre. So now we're getting back into the Mac. And
I think that was the only. I could be wrong. I think that was the only deep track like that on.
yeah, help me.
Yeah. At least like that, but
Yeah, I think so. Maybe the last song, "Miss You," is a little bit more introspective, but yeah, it's the last one kind of like that. That's really heavy. But then Mac named Dre, I thought this was a super dope beat. I love the samples. I love the flow. I love his attitude. He's letting everyone know that he's Mac Dre. And, you can't fuck with him, and putting his stance on hip hop and the Bay Area.
I like that he brings up he's a man of many hats.
Yeah,
I like that term, but you're looking at Ronald Reagan, Thizzelle Washington,
Right.
Bill Clinton, and it's just like, dude, this guy's
super
nuts.
creative, dude.
Yeah, I like it. I like that.
And
creativity.
just looking at the cover,
It's very vibrant.
it's vibrant,
eccentric.
it's eccentric, it's almost clownish. The clown vibe. He's got the fro, he's got the bright colors in the background, even the font. I don't think it's just very fun and vibrant and goofy.
Let's talk about the name of the album real quick. So, like, I've kind of pointed for me when I look at an album, like, why is it called this? And, Thizzelle Washington is like, all right, is there going to be some Denzel Washington references in here? Like, are we going to see something out of that? But, like, I think it's just this.
It's just a fun play on words.
Yeah, it's a fun play of words, but I think this album just kind of embodies that hat.
Gotcha.
And, he's Thizzelle Washington. We all know he's, thizzing out and stuff like that. And he references it in almost every single track. And so, I don't know, that's just kind of like listening to this album, I'm learning about his Thizzelle Washington persona. But it'd be interesting to,
Right.
give a thorough listen to, Ronald Reagan.
Right. It's it reminds me of Cool Keith in a way, where Cool Keith creates a plethora of different monikers and characters and makes albums after those. He has his Dr. Octagon. He has his Black Elvis character. He has all these characters, and he makes different albums based on those characters. And it's very similar to this. It's similar to MF Doom as well, where he has King Ghidra and his other names, that Victor Vaughn. He comes up with these other characters, and it's almost as if it's a creative outlet for them to make a different type of album or to go more in depth with this idea. So it definitely reminds me of that with the names that he comes up with.
I see that. Yeah, I don't know. I like it. It's cool. Number 6, damn, I used to know. I'm adopting these questions. Next time I'm with someone and I'm gonna offer them $10 and ask them how many rubbers come in a pack of XL Magnums. Matthew, can you answer that question?
Is it 3? I think it's 3.
So, yeah. Do you know Richard Pryor's real name?
The Richard Pryor, bro. That's my guess. I thought it was a trick question.
It was, and then it wasn't. Like, he has like 4 middle names. So I was like, what the fuck
Yeah, I
is
don't
his
know
real
that.
name then? So I looked that
No,
up.
it was a funny skit. So this is just a skit. It's a game show, and the host is talking to the contestant. And it's like, I described it, it's like a hood game show. Like, that's how I described it.
True, yeah.
Yeah, that was really funny.
The prizes, you can win a Chevy, I think it was.
Yeah, 73 Chevy and backwoods cars.
I mean, it's not a bad set of prizes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to come third, but
No, that shit was funny. Mac Dre would have been really funny in the YouTube era. Similar to how like Odd Future was really funny making their videos and they're doing their show. Mac Dre could have fit right into that and doing skits and funny things.
I can see that. Man, gone too soon.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't know. Boss Tycoon, number 7. I mean, this is, I think on Spotify, this is in his top 6 or whatever it is. But
right.
I mean, this one is
it is. Yeah.
song.
Yeah. It's one of those songs that it's so funny because it's listening to it. It's not good quality. It sounds as if it wasn't mastered or recorded, the best, but it still hits. You know what I mean? You don't even need the best quality for this to be a great song. And yeah, I mean, he's talking about being a boss and all the cars and money he has, and but just the vibe of it and the beat. If you're at a party and this comes on and you're already drunk,
the
like,
first
you're gonna be feeling it.
The first like 4 bars, I feel like if you know Mac Dre, you know the first 4 bars of this song. I don't yet, but I mean, I'm aware of them. If I saw them written down, or if someone said them out loud, I'd be like, oh yeah, Boss Tycoon. But I just like how he's like not your R&B singer, pull the tools out, and I don't know. I don't know. I just like the clarification of being dipped in sauce, because it's just like one of those things. I'm like, yeah, man, we dipped in sauce, but it just never really thinking about it. Yeah. And Matthew, question number 1: what are some foods dipped in sauce?
Chicken nuggets.
Chicken nuggets.
Chicken tenders.
What are some of the finer foods dipped in sauce?
Finer foods? Mm-hmm. I don't know. French fries.
French fries, lobster.
And butter.
Dipped in butter. Right? So there's like some fancy ass shit.
I don't eat a lot of lobster.
Oh, obviously. I don't either. I need to start eating more lobster. But I mean, that's one of the things that I was looking up where I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like just dipped in butter. Like,
yeah.
All right. This is one of the finer things.
Sauced up. He's got the jewelry.
Super saucy. So one of the last lines in the verse, I'd have to pull it back up, but like it's in reference to a time where he was on his way to a sideshow and his car broke down. So he got a cab and he went out. The cab dropped him off, and then he paid the cab driver some money. He's like, hey, here's some money. Let me ghost ride and whip this thing around a little bit. Do some yokes on the pavement. And apparently the cab driver was like, yeah, cool, we can do that. And so that's where one of the last lines in the song is from.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, they're just bosses living the high life. And the tycoon is kind of a play on the kind of racial epithet of being a coon towards black people, and just kind of spinning it and being like, I'm a boss tycoon. So thought that was kind of cool. It's just, I don't know, learning stuff that I didn't know I needed to learn, and that I didn't know I didn't know.
Yeah, you gotta get educated by Mac Dre.
Oh yeah. For Myself, track 8. I don't know. It's weird because I was wondering if he was going to be one of those that's going to sneak, album full of pimping, and then sneaks in and out a track where it's like, yeah, I actually do really love you and this and that. But For Myself it doesn't, the chorus goes into that, but then the verses don't at all. At least not that I picked on. It's like, I want you for myself. You can't have no one else. Right. But then he's just talking about pimping throughout the whole track. Right. So I didn't really.
No, it's that classic, guy mentality of, I can, you have to be with me and you can't be with anyone else, but you're disposable. I can replace you easily with any girl, and I can do whatever I want. It's a very it's a trope. You know what I mean? It's been played out so many times. But yeah, they want the girl for themselves, but they're also about making money. So they're not gonna stick around and focus on the girl. They're focused on, getting money and rapping and do whatever they got to do.
Yo, did you fight hard for the gravy on your biscuit, Matthew, in your life?
I always fight hard for the gravy. I love the line. He says, "I'm a pimp, baby. I run a stable." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, you're wild, Mac Dre."
It's cut though. I just love that. I was listening to that in my car and it was like THOAT. Like it just has this very like sad, like, oh man, like, yeah, we gotta be cutthroat with each other. It fucking sucks, but it is what it is. Fuck you at the same time. Right. So I don't know. That's what I don't know. I feel like this verse of his is one of the tighter ones I've heard in the entire album. So I really like that. Like, yeah. Oh, and I also like how he says he stayed on course while others drifted, and I was like, hell yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, no, it's a dope song. I really liked it. I think his main point is he's worked for what he has, and he's being able to enjoy the fruits of his labor. He eats good. He has everything he wants, everything he needs, and just he's letting everyone know how he got there and what he has. And so he's kind of holding it up and putting it in your face of like, I got this, take a look at me type of thing. For me, the album, this is where the album started to kind of die down a little bit. I started to lose a little bit of steam listening to it, where it was kind of like dragging on a bit.
And that's what I was saying, like, even now when I listen to this, like, I don't want to hear how many tracks is this? It's 16 and a bonus, basically. Yeah. And I don't see, especially with that era and people just wanting to jam to something, I'd be curious to see people that listen to this album front to back.
Right.
But just so I agree.
Yeah.
Like, I lost a little bit after a certain point too.
Yeah. And I think that goes into the style of albums that he was creating was, he's going to create a full body of work, but really you're only going to pull 3 or 4 gems out of it and then you're good. You know what I mean? And those are going to be the songs that you play at your parties, and those are going to be the songs that you enjoy when you go see him live. I don't think his fans are too concerned with, the perfect album that's sequenced and every song fits into a concept and things like that. It's not really his style.
I just thought of something. So when we did the Baby, when we did the Freshman XXL, we talk about the playlist era and how people were just pumping out tracks to stay relevant.
Filler tracks, yeah.
And you just brought up how Mac Dre, like you go on Spotify, he has a fucking library of albums. Like, it's
yeah, it's kind of overwhelming if like for us, never really listening to his discography and listening to his albums.
Where do you start?
It's kind of overwhelming. Like, oh shit, like which album do I even listen to? Like what's his defining album, or what album I should start with? You know what I mean? And if you think, I just start at the beginning, well, you're gonna be listening to 30 albums.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So my question is, if Mac Dre is kind of doing the kind of prototype of a playlist era, do you see his library, his catalog, vibing more with itself than current artists are doing with their music and their library?
So again, their vibe, it's gonna be
like because you mentioned like how we both like how his music, you can vibe to it, right? And so a lot of his music, it's evolved over time and changed, but it's still like it has a very unique vibe and sound to it.
Yeah.
Is that the same for current artists that are in the playlist era? Are their sounds the same to where it's like, okay, I'm gonna put on DaBaby and it's this very cohesive vibe that I'm hearing from 5 albums that all dropped in 2020?
Yeah, I mean, DaBaby is still very, very early in his career, but I do think because of how he's releasing music, where he's releasing 2 albums a year, they're going to have very similar sounds to it. Okay. So they're going to have similar vibes. But I think the biggest issue and the biggest difference between a Mac Dre and a newer artist that's on the XXL cover or DaBaby or whatever in the last couple of years is his style of music is different from everyone else. As opposed to everyone in the XXL, they're kind of all making the same type of music. It's the same vibe to it.
Yeah, so it's kind of, when you're talking, I was thinking like, it's kind of oversaturated in 2 different ways. One, because all these artists sound the same, and second, they're putting out more music. If you were to compare Mac Dre in a year and these current artists in a year, the new artists are putting out more music. So it's a lot of the same music, both by the individual artists and in comparison to their peers.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. I guess that kind of answers that, what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Cool.
So then we go into Han Solo. Han Solo.
You ain't no nerd? Have you ever gone Han Solo before?
I know who Han Solo is, bro.
No, I'm asking if you ever felt like going Han Solo.
Going Han Solo all the time.
Yeah.
I always go on my own.
Yeah. It's just...
I always need to take a break from the world.
Yeah.
Like Mac Dre. No, this actually was kind of one of his deeper songs where
It was.
he's opening up about being Mac Dre as opposed to sometimes he just wants to be Andre Hicks. You know what I mean? He feels... I think artists don't talk about this enough, but they definitely are playing a character with their rapper name. You know what I mean? When they come home, they're not that rapper. They're just
He's
a
just
normal
Andre
person.
Hicks.
Yeah, he's just Andre Hicks. So, you know, that is a lot, I think, especially when you're in the public eye, you have to portray this aura and this vibe and this energy all the time. And if you're out of that, then people think, you know, you're whack or there's something wrong with you or what's up with him? Is he on drugs? It's like, no.
And we kind of look at famous people as like having this very elaborate and eclectic life or something like that, where they're really not any different than us. Like if you're like me, especially in current times, I'm Zooming most of my day. And it's like, yeah, when I'm done Zooming, like I just want to kick it and spend time with myself. So, I mean, why is that any different than, you know, being on stage or making music? And it's like, well, that's fun and it's not really work. And it's like, well, that's how you view it, though. That's your perception of it. But it's still putting in work to portray something, to get something done, to sustain your living. But, you know, I like how in this track, he's just talking about like, you know, his girl's tripping. He just needs to kind of hang out with himself and go solo.
And you know, it's exhausting when you're constantly watching over your back or watching out for people trying to take advantage of you or fans coming up to you. You know, that has to take a toll on you.
Yeah, man, there's too many Jakes, Fakes, and Snakes out there. Like, you kind of just have to kick it. One of the things I remember when we were doing the Kid Cudi album was that his solo dolo track may have been inspired from Mac Dre. And so at the time, like, I hadn't listened to Mac Dre. And so when he said the line, in one of his lines, he mentioned going dolo, you know, solo. I was like, oh, okay, this is potentially where that influence could have came from. So I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
So then we go into Rap Life. Yeah, this is one of the songs that I just didn't feel. The beat, I just couldn't do it.
When I first heard that song, like usually in past pods, when we listen to a track and I don't like it, I'll usually stomach through them and like, whatever, 3 minutes left. I actually skipped this song when I first heard it. I gave it a minute and I was like, nah, this is out of whack. It doesn't make any sense. And the beat just totally killed it, and not in a good way. I was like, this sounds like something that, you know, someone just produced, like not knowing much. And then I think in the song it mentions that Mac Dre produced it. And I was like, I don't want to show any disrespect, but I mean, that just couldn't be it.
It was just a little too off kilter for me. It didn't really fit the rest of the album. So yeah,
I don't see myself dancing to that. I don't see myself I don't see myself playing that any type of
that's one of the songs that you're gonna leave off the playlist.
Oh yeah, you can erase that off of the whole album and it'd be fine.
So then we got Thizzle Dance.
This is the song.
Yeah, this is hyphy right here.
Yeah, if you know Mac Dre, you know this song, and it's not really much to say about this song. It's a whole. It started the movement. It's a whole dance.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's so funny how, you know, this starts off underground and very regional. This is very West Coast, But now creating dances for hip hop songs is normal. Like you almost have to do that if you want to make it, especially with things like TikTok and Instagram and Twitter. It's like you need to have a dance to go with your song. But you know, Mac Dre and other hyphy rappers have been doing that for years. You know, and it's just funny how it comes back around like that.
It is. I just had to. I got to look this up real quick because I'm thinking about, you know, you saying this song basically, you know, started this whole thing. Like, man, between this and Soulja Boy, which one came first? Because one of those definitely started that. Maybe not started, but I mean, it definitely was one of those songs where like it dropped and then everyone's dancing to it. Mm-hmm. I would be willing to be wrong that Crank That dropped in 2007. So nah, Thizzle Dance definitely came beforehand. But, you know, Crank That was like people taking videos of themselves doing that. I don't really recall people doing that with Thizzle Dance. Not that they weren't, but at school dances, you know, we're making the face, we're brushing our feet off, we're doing the bird.
Well, back in 2004, we didn't really have means of recording ourselves and uploading it.
A little bit, not as much.
Not as much. I mean, I don't. YouTube was not around back then, so I don't know how else you would be able to see it besides uploading it to your own website and hosting it.
I'll have to look at when YouTube was there. I feel like it was, but I don't know. Like this song is iconic, and I don't know.
Yeah, this is hyphy right here.
That's all I can say about that. Y'all already know about Thizzle Dance, so great track.
Let me go into another skit with Soom Lama.
Soom Lama. It's the cousin of Osama bin Laden. That's all I got.
Yeah,
that's all.
Shit was crazy.
It
was funny, but yeah, wild. So yeah, then the next song is Big Breaded, which breaded refers to money. Having money.
So if you're big breaded, you're probably feeling pretty good.
Yeah, you got lots of money. For me, this was another filler song. I didn't really catch this one. You know, didn't really feel it. It was just cool to me. It wasn't a standout track at all.
No, I think for this one though, I did like the beat on it. When it first started, I was kind of like, okay. And then the bass dropped, and I was like, oh fuck yeah. So I was digging that. I like how he's dissing his like ex or his girlfriend, whatever, calling her lumpy oatmeal feathers or something like that. It's like that's not very nice.
That's funny.
Referred to me as lumpy oatmeal. So, but yeah, it's just another one of those tracks.
Yeah.
Da la 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 la, lots of paper. Numbers 15.
You know, another track about pimping girls, making money.
He's referring to himself as a preppy pimp quite a bit. And that just kind of, I thought, fit the persona of being different from your average, I don't know if you'd say that, your average gangster rapper of like, I'm a preppy pimp, I like designer, I do all this stuff and whatnot.
Right.
But yeah, the track is about pimping and getting money. It is what it is. So, Miss You, number 16.
Yep.
Matt, question for you. Do you bury like Hallie or bury like Bonds?
I bury like Hallie.
Oh, well, he buries like Bonds. So, because he's hitting home runs and everything like that.
Oh, okay.
So,
I thought you were talking about who I'd want to be with.
I mean, I'm assuming you probably wouldn't want to be with Barry Bonds, but
exactly.
But yeah, this one kind of takes a different hit than a couple tracks ago with For Myself. I felt like I thought they were kind of related, but in this one, it's like I don't mess with bitches that aren't about getting money, but instead of like, if you're not going to be hoeing, then it's just not going to work. But it's like, if you don't want to do that, that's fine. And if you want to help, if you don't want to put on the pumps to help, that's fine. We could do some Bonnie and Clyde stuff.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, like different turn. Cool. So,
he basically just wants a girl to be his girl and work for him.
Got to be the
to
right
make him money.
I have to say, which one of the beats on this album, which one would you classify as your favorite if you were to have one?
I really loved Fuck. It's between Monday through Sunday and the Mac named Dre. Those would probably be my favorite beats.
Okay. My top, I think, is Miss You. I really love the beat to this song. It's just super mellow. I like the sample in it, but the flow is great. I like this one. I really like the beat to this one.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't until I think afterwards, like actually today when I was listening to the album again, because when you listen to the album, when this song ends, it breaks for like a good 15, 20 seconds where like, okay, the album's over. That's plenty of time for me to process the album's over. But if you keep waiting, there's another track that follows afterwards. And so I just noticed that today. And that one, you guessed it, talking about pimping. Not too much happening.
Not too much there.
And about the nation of Thizzelle. Will you be joining the nation, Matthew?
I don't know if I have what it takes to join the nation of Thizzelle.
You could, man. You just got to put in that work. You could do it.
So yeah, that's the whole album. I thought it was a cool album. It definitely it has its filler tracks. It has maybe 3 or 4 that you could remove, and I think this would be a little bit more of a solid album. It kind of drags on a bit, but at the same time, like we've discussed earlier, I don't think Mac Dre is concerned with that when he was making this. He has the iconic songs in here. He has great songs. He doesn't need you to appreciate the whole album as a whole. If you can pull out those songs and bump them at every party, then he's won. He did right.
And especially with the vast library that he did come out with, I mean, that's enough to...
If you're putting out that much material, you're not really focused on the concepts and making, an album that's going to be rated highly. It's not going to get 5 mics in the source or anything, but people are going to appreciate it and people are going to buy the albums regardless.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm trying to think I'm curious what people would tell me if I said, hey, I'm really interested in Mac Dre. Where should I start?
Right. If you asked a huge Mac Dre fan, you know what I mean? I would want to know what they would tell me to do.
Yeah.
Where should I start? Should I listen to albums or should I just focus on the songs?
That's a good question. I'm wondering if people would just kind of
just like, all right, let me make you a playlist of the songs that you need to listen to.
Yeah.
Rather than, okay, you need to check out this album and this album.
Yeah, because like I said a couple times, like I don't want to take credit from people, but I'd be really curious to see what full-on albums people are aware of, and also what era they prefer too. Do you prefer the early '90s one, or do you prefer the hyphy movement, Mac Dre, which does more for you? Like I said, I really liked Young Black Brother and like just the feel of that album, and thought it was really great. But I don't know. So I mean, that was kind of your thoughts on it. Of just like it was cool. It was cool. I don't know. You haven't?
Yeah, I mean, Mac Dre is a legend. Especially for us, he's a regional legend for sure. Out here in the Bay Area. So yeah, it was definitely cool to sit down and listen to one of his albums and appreciate him and the music that he made. And yeah, he's definitely gone too soon. He definitely could have kept churning out albums and making great songs.
So with this, since this was, our start to Mac Dre, is this an album that you see yourself either repeating, or has it encourage you to go check out any of his other work?
It's more encourage. I don't know about necessarily checking out other albums, but more encouraged me to listen to his material and check out more of his songs. Because obviously I've heard, the popular ones, but I would definitely, skim through it and find some other tracks. But
so no albums.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would. Maybe once in a while check out one of his albums, but it is kind of daunting to look at his discography and be like, oh shit.
And there's a lot of posthumous stuff because I think it's almost similar to
Tupac, where they just
recorded a bunch of stuff, and so there was stuff for people to mess around with. But yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling. Thizzelle Washington, I can see myself taking tracks from it. But I definitely it's because of his status that's more of why I want to go into his older work.
Right.
But I definitely want to kind of at some point cruise through his other albums, but I kind of see myself at the end being like, yeah, okay, there's a lot of tracks from here, here, and here that I really like. I'd be curious to see if there was a whole album that I was like, yeah. But then again, I wouldn't be, because Young Black Brother was really good. So, who are you playing this for? Are you telling anyone to listen to it?
I'm definitely playing this at a party or a kickback or a barbecue. I'll throw some of these songs on, not the whole album. I'll pick 4 or 5 songs from this, put it in a playlist, and especially if I'm up here, and I think that would be good enough. I think that would be dope. And it's not an album that I'm going to throw on a road trip or anything like that, or if I'm just chilling at home. It's more of when you're going to get hyped up,
Yeah.
where you need some music that's going to fit the vibe of a party or something like that, or a live show. I feel like this would have been amazing live if he was still here. I would definitely go see him live.
Yeah, I feel all that. But yeah, I had a good time listening. I'll definitely be checking out more of his stuff.
That's our rap thoughts on Mac Dre's.
That's it for the thoughts.
Thizzelle, Washington. So yeah, thank you to all of our listeners out there. Thank you for tuning in on Spotify and Apple and Google and Stitcher and YouTube. Shout out to our viewers out there. We appreciate y'all.
Hey, thanks for joining us this week with Thizzelle.
Yes, sir. We'll catch you guys next week.